The story begins with Sola talking to her boyfriend, Jae-sun, who's holding a cat named Meow. Sola dislikes cats, but since Jae-sun is allergic, she takes the cat home. While showering, she undresses casually, thinking, it's just a cat. Flashback to 15 hours earlier, Sola had learned that Jae-sun came back and broke up with her. Happy about it, she headed to work. Jae-sun tried meeting her outside the office, but she ignored him. She recalled their kiss, after which he never called. That evening, when she visited Jae-sun's cafe, his ex returned the cat due to his allergy, prompting Sola to bring Meow home. Back in the present, while Sola showers, the cat transforms into a man, Hongjo, but quickly turns back when she returns. That night, Sola keeps kicking the cat off her bed, but he keeps trying to return. Later, Meow turns into a man again, opens the door to go out, but panics and comes back inside. After Sola leaves for work, he transforms again and attempts to act human. Seeing Sola's father collapsed, he carries him outside, but, scared by the guards, turns back into a cat. Sola gets a hospital call and rushes there. She meets her father's girlfriend and, uncomfortable, leaves. Meanwhile, Meow, unable to recall the house's address, waits outside. When he sees Sola, he turns human and follows her. She sits on a bench and, thinking he's Jae-sun, begins venting about her dad's girlfriend. She tells him to leave, but then Jae-sun calls and Sola realizes it wasn't him. Alarmed, she asks Jae-sun if he came, but he says he hasn't left home. Concerned about Meow, Jae-sun's words upset Sola. He asks her not to abandon Meow again, confusing her. Flashback reveals she once found the kitten, fed him, but he wandered off while she was distracted. In the present, Sola shoos Meow off her bed again. After she sleeps, he turns into a man and thinks, because of Sola, I can become human. Sola's dad had sold his apartment for his wedding, upsetting her. But her stepmom kindly gives her the key to her son's large, empty house, which turns out to be right across from Jae-sun's cafe. Not wanting him to know, she avoids him. One day, Sola forgets her phone and returns home, but gets distracted by Meow and forgets it again. Hongjo, in human form, secretly slips the phone into her bag before turning back into a cat. At home, he turns human again, confused. Why is he transforming even when Sola isn't around? Sola works all night at the office. As morning rain begins, Meow, who'd been waiting, brings her an umbrella. It slips from his hand, and he turns into a cat. Approaching the umbrella again, he transforms into a man. After trying this a few times, he realizes that being near Sola or her belongings allows him to become human. He heads to meet Sola and sees her with Jae-sun. Jae-sun offers her a ride, and though she hesitates to share her address, she eventually gives in. When Jae-sun touches her forehead to check for a fever, Meow feels heartbroken. Back home, Sola cares for Meow and names him Hongjo. Later that night, seeing Hongjo weak, Sola rushes him to the vet. Afterward, she takes care of him. As she falls asleep with a fever from exhaustion, Hongjo looks after her. One day, Sola sees Hongjo on the rooftop and, worried, climbs up. But he's already down by the time she gets up. As she descends, her foot slips. Hongjo catches her just in time. She turns to thank the boy, but finds neither the boy nor Meow around. Later, she sees Meow again and returns home. The next morning, it's hard for Hongjo to wait alone, so he follows Sola, taking her hairbrush. Sola thanks him for saving her and buys him a meal in return. On the bus, Hongjo sits with her but lacks fare. He reminds her he saved her life, and she pays for him. He plays with the doll on her bag, making Sola uncomfortable. While she works, Hongjo walks home and immediately falls asleep. That night, Sola notices her missing brush and spots the doll she gave the boy on the bus, scaring her. She calls Jae-sun, who visits her house. He finds nothing unusual except her brush now with Hongjo. Jae-sun starts sneezing from his allergy, and Sola tosses Hongjo out the window. As Sola and Jae-sun begin to kiss, Hongjo re-enters in human form and demands Jae-sun leave. Shocked, Jae-sun asks who he is to say that. At that moment, Sola's stepmom calls and says her son has returned. Sola assumes Hongjo is that son, and Jae-sun quietly leaves. The next day, Sola goes shopping with Hongjo. At the fish market, he gets overly excited, wanting to buy all the fish, but has no money, so Sola pays. Jason later visits Sola, and she asks why he didn't come back after their kiss. He says nothing. She asks if they could ever be together again. Still no answer. Sola visits his home for answers. It turns out Jason did try to meet her but saw Meow with the scarf Sola had tied on him. There was a note attached saying, "Take it if you need it." Thinking Sola left the cat like that, and already being an orphan, Jason felt hurt, believing she'd eventually abandon him too. That's why he stayed away. Even now, he remains silent, and Sola, tearfully, tells him she won't chase after him anymore. Hongjo, now mostly in human form, comforts her. Needing money, Hongjo starts working at a restaurant. Meanwhile, Sola goes on a blind date, only to discover her date is Hongjo. Afterward, they visit the market, where Hongjo helps her win many dolls, delighting her. When they return home, Jason is waiting. Realizing they went on a date, Jason tells Sola to send Meow away, hurting Hongjo deeply. Determined to stay human permanently, Hongjo asks Sola for things that help him transform. But this still isn't a permanent fix. Meanwhile, Jason learns the woman he asked to take in Meow is now pregnant and can't care for the cat anymore. Sola finds it difficult to send Meow away, so she decides to keep him. But a twist arises, her stepmother's real son returns. Meanwhile, Hongjo confesses his feelings to Sola, but she ignores him. Now that everyone thinks Hongjo is her stepbrother, he feels his place beside her is threatened. To prevent her from meeting her stepbrother, Hongjo plays hide and seek. When Sola finally sees the boy, she assumes he's just a friend of Hongjo. Later, Hongjo notices Sola's scarf with Jason and questions him. Jason tells him about the misunderstanding that led to his breakup with Sola. When Sola picks up Meow from the cafe and sees the same scarf, Jason confesses the truth. Heartbroken that he never trusted her, Sola leaves in tears. Jason regrets it, but it's too late. Before leaving, Sola's stepbrother meets Jason, and Jason realizes that Hongjo isn't her real brother. He confronts Hongjo at their home and asks who he really is. Hongjo, seeing Sola unwell, quietly hands Jason some water and leaves. When Jason follows, he finds Meow in the room and suspects the truth. Still uncertain, he convinces himself the boy escaped through the window. But later, when something nearly falls on Sola, Hongjo transforms into a human right in front of Jason to save her. Now fully convinced, Jason talks to Hongjo, who admits the truth. Jason offers him a job at the cafe, and their playful rivalry continues. One day, while Sola is waiting for Hongjo, Meow gets kidnapped. Jason finds Hongjo's locket and informs Sola. Together, they trace the catnapper, a man who collects cats. When Hongjo turns into a human before him, the man is stunned. Hongjo demands he release the other cats, and a fight breaks out. Just then, Sola and Jason arrive, and Hongjo quickly turns back into a cat. The man is left shocked beyond words. As Sola and Hongjo grow closer, her stepmother calls, saying how happy she is that Sola and her brother are living together. Conflicted, Sola tells Meow that if Hongjo weren't her stepbrother, she'd confess her feelings. Just then, Hongjo appears and tells her, "I'm not your brother," and kisses her. Later, Hongjo meets a kitten who transforms into an old woman. She reveals she once loved a human too, but their love was never fulfilled. Cats have short lives, and she's near the end of hers. She warns Hongjo never to tell his human love the truth, that he's not human. Hongjo discusses this with Jason, who advises him to leave Sola since he will die soon anyway. But Hongjo wants one more full day with her. Sola senses something is wrong and becomes emotional, saying that unlike fairy tales, her kiss marks the end of happiness. She goes to work crying, while Hongjo tells Jason he just wants a few more days. That evening, Sola is thrilled to see Hongjo and even buys him a phone. Jason, now jealous, visits Sola, but when he sees Hongjo there, he becomes upset. He urges Hongjo to leave, but Hongjo says he'll tell Sola everything. Then Sola's stepmother calls again, saying her real son has returned. Shocked, Sola wonders how that's possible if he's with her now. Confused, she brushes it off. It's time for her and Hongjo's trip to visit her parents. Just then, Jason arrives. Sola asks him about the cat she left in his care, and he says, "It's with you." She thinks he's joking. But when Sola's mom comes to pick them up, Hongjo suddenly transforms back into a cat. Sola is stunned and believes he left without saying goodbye. Sola visits her parents' house and is shocked to see her real stepbrother there. Jae-sun finally tells her the truth. After questioning him, Sola goes to find Hongjo, only to witness him transforming into a cat. The sight is too much to process. Heartbroken, she pulls her hand away when Hongjo reaches out to her. Seeing this moment, Jae-sun confesses his love to Sola, making Hongjo even more sorrowful. Feeling rejected, Hongjo begins staying at Jae-sun's place. Meanwhile, Sola can't stop thinking about him. She misses him deeply, but doesn't know how to keep him in her life. Overwhelmed, she falls ill, and Hongjo lovingly cares for her. Sola asks if it's true he turns human because of her. Hongjo says yes. She asks when it started, and he says it happened whenever she felt lonely. Sola admits she still feels lonely, and Hongjo embraces her. She then asks if he's hiding anything else. Hongjo confesses he doesn't have much time left and will die soon. After this, they spend joyful days together, cherishing every moment. But to stay awake and remain human longer, Hongjo drinks too much coffee, which begins to affect his health. When Sola goes to work, Hongjo waits all day just to spend more time with her. Eventually, Sola introduces him to her friends, who start asking who he is and what he does, but neither of them has an answer. Exhausted, Hongjo falls asleep and turns back into a cat, and Sola quickly takes him home. Suddenly, the man who saw him transform shows up again. Obsessed with proving that a cat can become human, he tries to kidnap Hongjo and even pushes Sola. She jumps into the car to stop him. The man flees, but Hongjo transforms and blocks his path, saving her. Sola takes Hongjo to the doctor, who warns that his human time is almost over. Realizing Hongjo had spent that limited time just waiting for her, Sola quits her job to be with him every moment she can. One day, Hongjo takes Sola out and tells her it's the last time he'll ever become human. Devastated, Sola kisses him over and over again. Hongjo says if he'd known it would end like this, he might never have shown himself, but even as a cat, he'll stay by her side. Then, he kisses her one last time. 2 years pass. Sola waits every single day for Hongjo to return. She becomes a famous writer, often surrounded by fans. Jae-sun proposes to her, but she chooses to keep living with hope, waiting for Hongjo. And finally, her waiting is rewarded. One day, Hongjo returns as a human. Overjoyed, Sola runs to him and embraces him. With smiles on their faces, their story finds its beautiful ending.